Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, brought to you by the great folks over at Zephyr Epic out in Surrey. Look at that new banner. For those on the YouTube live show,
Oh,
you can see it. Canucks Conversation is brought to you by the great folks over at Zephyr Epic. You can use promo code Hockey Season, capital H, capital S, all one word, Hockey Season. That will get you $5 off your order at ZephyrEpic.com. They also have free shipping Canada wide on any order over $50. So be sure to go check out our friends over at Zephyr Epic. They are also, like many of us, on social media channels. You can find them on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch with the weekly case break openings, and Instagram as well. A lot of good poll questions, a lot of different stuff going on over at Zephyr Epic. So be sure to go check them out. They've got all of your trading card needs covered. Pokemon, hockey, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever it is that tickles your fancy, go check it out. Upper Deck Series 2 is out now. My co-host, Chris Faber, my name is David Rogelli, technical producer, is Alex Lard. Intern Emil is behind the scenes. Faber
oh,
wearing his
Emil.
polo today with a
Emil with the
fresh
shout out.
haircut. Emil, I got to shout out Emil more. Emil's been doing a fantastic job. You know, people see the Canucks Army socials, and that used to be me. You know, people have seen that. People noted that. I talked about it a lot. Emil is taking over the Canucks Army socials. Intern Emil, and he is doing a bang up job, doing a very very good job for us. And you've got a little fresh haircut over there.
Yeah, got one yesterday. I told you I was on the show on Tuesday. I said if I wear the visor, next time you see me, I'll have a haircut. You almost said Emil was doing a fantastic job, but you pulled it back. So what's Emil doing wrong? I think Emil's doing a fantastic job.
I rank bang up higher than fantastic. Like if you're doing a fantastic job, that's great. But if you're doing a bang up job, like bang up means that there's no error at all, right?
I don't know. I'd rather be called fantastic than a bang up.
I'm now
That's
looking
just
it up.
yeah. Look for
Well,
it.
yeah, okay,
Is there a
maybe.
ranking?
Yeah, bang up means very good or excellent, according to the Cambridge Dictionary.
I'd rather be fantastic personally. Let me rip this pack. We're looking for a Kuzmenko Young Gun. That is the card to pull here. We do have a rookie, but it is not Kuzmenko, a rookie of Cole Kepke? Kepke? I don't know who this guy is. Never heard of him. Cool. Anyways, one of these days I'm gonna pull the damn the Kuzmenko card here pretty quick. I hope one of these days here. I want that young gun. That's a fun young gun. But we got a fun one last time on the show with Bowie. That's going out to Lisa out there in Seattle. Can I start with something quads off the top? You always
Sure.
get mad at me for this stuff. But by the way, yeah, look at that Zephyr Epic. The Zephyr wings, it looks like up top there. I love the look of that on the YouTube now, by the way. How weird is it? Okay, we get to the rink yesterday in Abbotsford. We got lots to get to, lots of Abbotsford stuff to talk about. We get to the rink yesterday. Warm. Had the AC on the whole drive. Thank God. Geez, 3 hours of driving. But had the AC on the whole time. It's a weird vibe to me when baseball's going on. It's sunny outside and you're heading into a rink. But I was telling you yesterday, I kind of like it. But at the same time, it's a weird feeling because it's warm outside. We've had some really nice days here in Vancouver over the last couple days. And I tell you, it's a strange feeling going into the rink on a warm day. I'll tell you that. But even though it's worse, though, remember those summer workouts where we are going out to, what's 8 rinks called now? What's it called?
It wasn't at 8 rinks, remember? They were, yeah, okay, those aren't really summer. I thought you were talking about development camp out at UBC.
No,
That was really bad. That was
no,
real
that's
bad.
weird. There were some hot days. You and I were talking to players outside in the sun. We had to get into the shade. So I don't know. It's throwing me
That's
off
right.
through a little bit of a loop here, but it's good. I tell you, we'll get to Abbots for a second. But I got to get this up too because I said this to my fiance earlier today. I said, "Oh, like my mom, maybe she gets out early on Friday. She's a teacher, and I'm going to see her on Friday before the game." But when I grew up, Fridays you got out early. Like Friday, like I went to school from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, and then Fridays you showed up at 9, same you did the rest of the week. But you're out of there at 1 o'clock, 1:30. Like you
Was
got
that
out early on Fridays, and that was awesome. Fridays were great, and now I see, so I tweeted it out, and I'm seeing people reply like, "Oh, my kid gets every second Thursday out early. Tuesdays we start at 9:45 instead of 8." I'm saying, what the hell's going on? Why don't you just give the kids Fridays off? That's what I had when I was a kid. I need to ask you this because I had it every Friday. You're done. 1:30, you're on the hockey court. You're playing till your parents are done work at 5. You got 3.5 hours of hockey at the end of Friday. And I don't know, maybe that was just an Nanaimo thing. Because did you have this? Did you have Fridays you got out early?
Was that a choice or like by the school? The school let you out at that time, or was that like something you and your friends did? What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, like school ended on Fridays. You were out early. Fridays you were out early. Your weekend started. It was great. It was awesome. Like 1:30 we were done. And this is elementary school. This is high school. Everything that I had as an adolescent going to school, we were out early on Fridays. So I don't know. This is the weirdest thing.
Well,
Heck, there was one of our high schools in Nanaimo. I guess not technically, but out in Cedar, they only had a half day on Fridays. They were done. The second half of Friday out in Cedar was like it was like a homework club or something. It was like for you to catch up on all your homework throughout the week. You could stay, but kids had the option. You could just leave at noon. So I tweeted this out. My fiance she's from New Brunswick. She has no idea what I'm talking about with this. They were, I don't know how long they're going to school, but like 9 to 3, Monday to Friday. No way. Like Fridays, you got out early. That was a thing. Did you have this or no?
no, this was not a thing that
Oh,
I can tell you, look, like I haven't been in high school for 5 years now. Um as of
well,
as of 5 years ago, the Burnaby School District, I could tell you confidently, did not do this. There was no early dismissal. Like sometimes if there was parent teacher conferences or whatever, but you're saying every Friday you would get out like an hour and 15 minutes early.
yeah, in high school too. Like it wasn't just elementary, but like shout out to Harewood Elementary, rest in peace. They tore that thing down. But you were out Friday, and like I said, parents they pick you up at the same time. They'd come get you at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. We're all playing hockey. Fridays was as soon as Friday was done. Chronic Hand says 9 to 3 Monday to Friday. Come on, give the kids Friday off. Let them go out and play together. Your parents can still come pick you up at the same time. That's what I had. I had a great childhood living like that. We played hockey every Friday after school. And it was all day long at Harewood we'd be playing. And then at NDSS, and here's Dexter. Chris, I go to NDSS. We get out at 1:46 on Mondays and Fridays. So they get Mondays and Fridays. I didn't get Mondays.
You're
We
not
didn't get the
even
Monday.
You're like not even in school at that point. What? I don't get it. I didn't know that was a thing. Maybe I should have gone to school in Nanaimo.
I guess, oh, maybe. That was just,
Yeah,
maybe it
no,
was
no
an,
half days. Quads
yeah, I
doesn't
want
do
to,
half day Fridays. Apparently, he just doesn't do Fridays.
well, yeah. Yeah, that's a thing. You started early on that. Alex, out east, because my fiance she had no idea what I was talking about when I said this. Is this something in Ontario? Your kids are still too young for school, right? They're not in school yet. But is that a thing out there? Like, do you get Fridays off, or is it this weird? That was the thing that pissed me off the most about this. The people in the replies like, "Oh yeah, every second Tuesday we start an hour and a half late." What the hell is going on? What the hell? What the hell are they doing every second Tuesday?
I feel like this was like what's that movie, Shutter Island? Like, and you're like everyone's just like playing this for you. Like you came up with this a lot. Like I'm half day Friday Faber, and uh, you just started taking the afternoons off, and eventually instead of fighting you all the time, they just said like, okay, just like yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and everyone else you would take off and.
Oh, Fridays. I'd be Fridays at Harewood or at Quarterway, which was where I had to go after Harewood closed down in Nanaimo. Heck, I'd be walking across the street. I'd be at Little Caesars at 1:35. 5 minutes after that bell went, I'm at Little Caesars. I had my $5 that I
Okay.
saved up from the week because I used to work when I was a 9-year-old. I was working, so I'm scrounging up toonies and loonies. I'd be 1:35 every Friday. I'm at Little Caesars, and I'm getting myself a $5 pizza. Back then, you get a dip for 75 cents, and you're laughing. I'm laughing about it. Shout out to Dexter, by the way, in class right now at my former high school, NDSS. Dexter's watching the show right now at NDSS. Shout out my old the Islanders over there, NDSS Islanders, good school.
Well,
I think I
can
agree
Dexter
with
watch
Alex.
on Friday, or is Dexter busy in class?
Dexter says they're out at 1:46 on Monday and Fridays, so they've even extended it now for those NDSS. I wonder if they still got asbestos at NDSS. Let me know, Dexter. We had a real
Okay,
bad.
okay. I wish I'll close it out here. I wish that you had a late start on Monday mornings and an early dismissal on Fridays. If you could pick, because Dexter's saying Monday and Friday you get out early. Late start to Monday, early dismissal on Friday. And I'll tell you what, in grade 12, I had a
Yeah,
free block for a semester in the morning. Like my day didn't start till 11:30. That was the best. That was the best. You didn't start till second block. Now that I think of it, second block was actually like 10, but still felt like a really long time to be able to sleep in, not do anything. It was the best.
listen, I'll tell you this: my final semester of high school. So listen. I did French immersion. I skipped ahead in classes. I was a good high school student back in the day. I was a good student. So I got ahead of everything. My final semester, I had half my day was spare blocks, like you mentioned. I didn't need to take any of those classes. And then the other half of the day, I was in gym, I was in PE, and then I was peer tutoring PE for the next block. Best semester of my life. I go to school the last semester of grade 12, doing nothing. I just went to PE half the day. I just hung out in the gym, just throwing dodgeballs at those grade 8s, just ripping them apart every day in that peer tutoring. Oh man, some of the hits you used to do in that class on those grade 8s, and I got an arm quads. I'd lay into those kids. It would be 25 on 2. I'd normally grab one of my buddies who's in the cafeteria or whatever, and we'd give those kids all they can handle. Those grade 8s, we'd rip them apart. Bruises, those rubber balls, the orange ones, they could hit. They made a good smack when they hit someone too.
Okay, moving on. Last night, recording this on Thursday. Wednesday night, you and I are out in Abbotsford. Game 3, Abbotsford Canucks are facing elimination against the Calgary Wranglers. Chris, what happened in that game? Because we're still here, and as you can see on the ticker, folks, staying alive is our headline.
Staying alive. Get it up, Alex. Look at that. It's the Abbotsford Canucks staying alive. They were down 2-0, coming back to Abbotsford. Looking good. Look at this. The two goalies leading the way, of course. Artie and Marty. Come on. That's got to be. How do you not capitalize on that with some content? The Abbotsford Canucks got to get going on that. Good content team. But yep, staying alive. Playing good. Hey, listen. What do they say about playoff series? It's not a series until you win on the road. Might not even happen like that. Abbotsford's got to win these last 3 games. They got 2 more games now. But goals from Linus Karlsson, that was huge, right? Like getting that power play goal that early from Linus Karlsson was great. I felt like that set a good mood for the group because Karlsson did this all season long. He was a power play guy in front, net front. Hadn't done anything up to this point in the AHL playoffs over the 4 games that they've played already. That's the first series and the second series. It was great to see him find the back of the net, and he did it the way that I think is so impressive. Like you see this now, Quads, and I heard this from some people that shot me some DMs who were at the game yesterday. They're like, hey, Linus Karlsson's big. I'm like, yeah, like he's big. He's tough. I've mentioned it before. Like the reason he's wearing the bubble all season long is because he's getting in guys' faces. He's getting punched in the face all season long. But you get an early goal from him on the power play. That was huge. Christian Wolanin finally getting some offense going. I know he got a lucky bounce, but to get him on the scoreboard was also great for them. And then I have to say, and we saw this, Abbotsford Canucks, they sent out a tweet. Big goals from Karlsson and Wolanin last night. They forgot about Kyle Rao. That was the biggest goal of the game. It's the game-winning goal, Kyle Rao in the third period, and that was how crucial of a goal is that? Because Quads, let's remember how this second period ended. A 5-on-3 opportunity for the Abbotsford Canucks. They do not score on that. Right after that, Nils Höglander, we'll talk about him a little bit more. He takes that slashing penalty. They go to, and then Calgary goes to work on the power play to close out that second period. They don't score, and it felt like that was a real time right there after that intermission. Calgary could have came back in that game and really pushed. It was a 2-1 game going into the third period. Then early on, a minute 10 into that third period, you get a goal from Kyle Rao. Huge goal for this team, right? Like huge goal for this team. I wanted to mention this about Rao. He's leading the Abbotsford Canucks now in points. He's tied with Nils Höglander throughout the playoffs here. But let me get you this stat up. Nils Höglander, 5 points in 5 games. Kyle Rao, 5 points in 5 games. Nils Höglander, 8 minor penalties in 5 games. Kyle Rao, nothing. He's playing. This is we talk about the young players on this team so much, and it's the exciting part. It's the guys who are going to play, in the NHL, hopefully at some point. But Kyle Rao's a real good piece to have. 30-year-old guy who's been around. He's got some NHL experience. He's been in the AHL a lot more throughout his career. But for him to come out, 5 points in 5 games, no penalty minutes, just been a solid top 6 guy. He's been that all season long for this Abbotsford team. He's been a real guy who just kind of fits in that top 6. He's not going to come out of there. He's a guy you trust both ways. Like you saw him at the end of the game last night. He was getting so many shifts late in that third period because they trusted him. They trust him, and he's a guy that I think this group really trusts, right? Like he's a veteran player who brings a lot to the organization down there in Abbotsford. Just wanted to give him a shout out because that goal yesterday ends up becoming the game winner. I thought without that goal, that game would have been real tight to watch, right? Like the last third period there, we saw the Wranglers pushing. I did like how Abbotsford pushed, though, too. Like they pushed in that third period, but that goal from Rao, like they really needed that. And I think that set the barn on fire, right? Like that had to be the biggest celebration in the game to get that 2-goal lead early in the third period. And then they took that game to bed last night with a nice 3-2 finish in that one.
And give them credit. shut down the Calgary Wranglers in the final 10 minutes when the Wranglers were only down by a goal, and they were pressing very hard. And look, you give a shout out to Kyle Rao, of course. I don't know why he wasn't mentioned in the tweet, especially when Christian Wolanin was referred to as a Canucks prospect along with Linus Karlsson. Canucks prospects, Linus Karlsson and Christian Wolanin score some goals is what the tweet said. Wolanin's 28 years old. We're not going to get into all that. But yeah, Kyle Rao deserves some respect there. Posting in, you heard the ping, you saw the celebration. I was taking videos of the fans and every goal that went in. That's kind of my duty when we go out there to Abbotsford, so it's on the Twitter account. But give them credit for shutting that game down, because look, like, I wrote the 4 keys to victory prior to that game. Actually, I wrote it in the car, part of it, on our long drive into Abbotsford, thanks to that accident on Highway 1. And all 4 of them, like, I'm just going to quickly go through them, because all 4 of them, it was almost like check, check, check. And although these games were very close through games 1 and 2, and the Canucks were right there, right? Like, that's what I actually led off with, was they were right there. Like, both of these games go to overtime. They don't need to change much, but they do need to change a couple things. This is what I wrote. Number 1, stay out of the box. Looking at you, Niels Höglander. Sure enough, that happened. They stayed out of the box, limited the Calgary power plays. Again, it's hard not to beat your previous best, which was 7. 7 was what they gave up in game 2, so you needed to do a little bit better than that. The next one, don't force the goalies to be great. Archer Silovs and Spencer Martin have been good in this series. Haven't been spectacular against Bakersfield. Like, they were fine against Bakersfield. The defense in front of them was really good. Against Calgary, and I'm sorry, I misspoke a second ago. Against Calgary, I think both goaltenders have been exceptional, at least in games 1 and 2. Last night, I thought Spencer Martin was fine. That second goal beat him. Probably wants that one back, to be honest with you. It wasn't really a good goal to give up, especially protecting a lead late. And he spoke about it. The guys in front of him shutting down the game, they deserve a ton of credit. The goalie last night, Spencer Martin, didn't have to be great for Abbotsford to get that win. The next one, score a power play goal. Sure enough, that happens. Linus Karlsson, as you mentioned, 10 minutes in. And let's not forget, the Wranglers actually opened the scoring in that game in the first 3 minutes. And all of a sudden, the Abbotsford Canucks are down in that game. Look, that's a huge goal to score. You've talked about it a lot. Linus Karlsson, big goal. And then, of course, the fourth one, the Abbotsford home crowd. How much did we hear last night? Who we talked to? We talked to Colleton. We talked to Karlsson, Rathbone, Wolanin. All of them spoke about the crowd. Colleton said it helps us big time. He talked about the importance of the home crowd, and Abbotsford didn't disappoint last night. We didn't expect them to, but look, it was a Wednesday night. You thought, okay, well, Wednesday nights are usually pretty quiet, especially, for non-NHL level hockey. Usually a pretty quiet night. It was not quiet last night, and that place was nearly sold out. Like, you were hard-pressed to find an empty seat in that barn last night. Friday's going to be a big game. Same sort of deal.
Yeah, Friday's going to be even better, right? Like, Friday is going to be even better because you don't have work the next day. It's going to be a blast out there in Abbotsford on Friday. Like, very excited for tomorrow's game. Let me touch on one of the things you brought up, the goalies, right? And we'll get your thoughts on this. We can get the stat up here, Alex. I got the AHL goalies. You mentioned it, like, you don't want to get into a goaltending battle against Dustin Wolf, right? Like, we've talked about him enough on this show. If you haven't heard enough Dustin Wolf, go back and listen to Ryan Pike every fourth word. We know it, Wolf. But let's get the stat up here, because this is interesting. Spencer Martin, and I'm curious to get your thoughts. Do they go back at this point? Because it's been 21 consecutive games now where the Abbotsford Canucks have just alternated. They've just been swapping through these guys. It's Silovs one night, it's Martin the next. And it's Silovs this night, Martin the next. They just roll and roll and roll. 21 straight games. They've just flip-flopped. Spencer Martin is number 1 in the AHL right now throughout the playoffs for save percentage. He's sitting at a .943 save percentage. It's impressive. It's good. Much better than Dustin Wolf, I'll tell you that. Dustin Wolf through 3 games, he's sitting at a .917, which is, hey, still good. Still good in the AHL. But Archer Silovs, he's played in 2 games. He's sitting at a .914 save percentage. Spencer Martin gets a nice bump there. Obviously, he had the shutout in game 1 of the playoffs against Bakersfield. But I'm curious here, Quads. Do they make it 22 consecutive games of swapping back and forth, or do you think Martin has done enough? Because that's my part of the argument. I don't think either guy's done enough to be the guy. And whatever they're doing right now with this alternating, it's working, right? It's working. Maybe it throws throws the opposition off a little bit because you prepare for one goalie and then you have to prepare for the next. You have to change your game plan. But I'm curious if they go back to Spencer Martin maybe on Friday after the way that he's played so far in these playoffs. Hey, like I said, number one goaltender in the AHL playoffs right now with that .943 save percentage.
I think it's Seelovs. I think you go back to Seelovs. And this isn't a knock on Martin. It's just that's what's worked for them. I don't think if you go back to Seelovs and it doesn't work that anybody's going to say, well, you should have stuck with Martin. Like, Seelovs talked about it in particular. Like, I'm not saying they have different mindsets on it, but we've heard more from Spencer Martin in the sense of, yeah, like both of us want to play. Whereas when we talked to Seelovs and you and I had a laugh about this, Seelovs was like, yeah, I think this is bringing out the best of both of us. And I really like it the way it is with alternating starts. So I don't think you're going to get a drop off in play if you go back to Seelovs. I think you have to. And I'm not trying to say, like, I'm not trying to knock Spencer Martin or anything, but he didn't do anything last night that made you go, whoa, well, he's got to start the next game. Like, he's got to be your guy. If you go to game 7 and
sorry, let me cut in here. That second goal, Quads, hey, you got to have that one, right? That second goal there that he came on the right wing, left shot guy, gets it pretty far shot away, no screen or anything. That's when you got to save. And I mean, you're kind of happy that that goal doesn't end up costing you because that is a shot that you think Spencer Martin would stop most of the time. That was listen, you can call it what it is. It was a bad goal against. It was one you should have had.
And I'm not even saying it should be Seelovs because he let in a bad goal against. Martin did. I'm just saying it's what's worked for you. You've done it for 21 consecutive games. Martin, like, think about it this way, Chris. The reason I don't think it's going to happen, and ultimately at this point, I think it's a fine decision to go back to Seelovs. The reason I don't think it's going to happen is we saw a shutout against Bakersfield for Spencer Martin. That was the only time I would think in a playoff situation that you would say, okay, well, we have to break the alternating and we need to go back to him. They went right back to Archer Seelovs, like without skipping a beat. And I don't think it was a very tough decision, to be quite honest with you. And it worked out. Like, they swept the Bakersfield Condors. They're doing it again in this series where they're alternating goaltenders and the results are there. I don't think there's any worry about starting Archer Seelovs. If anything, like, you know, it kind of screws up Bakersfield a little bit. Like, we talked about how they're two different goaltenders and you have to prepare a little bit differently. Like, scrambles around the crease, and hey, Spencer Martin was fantastic last night with his positioning, his post integration, and really sealing off the bottom of the net. He was fantastic last night. That's one thing he did really well. Like, you think about the number of scramble plays we saw, Chris, where Spencer Martin was anticipating really well, keeping his eye on the puck through traffic right in front of him. Did a fantastic job of that last night. But that's something Archer Seelovs is really, really good at. So you're not changing your game plan, but when you're the opposing team, you know that maybe Spencer Martin doesn't have the best glove hand, but that's not really a weakness for Archer Seelovs, right? Or whatever it is, right? I'm not trying to pick on Martin or anything here, but that's what it comes down to. Is I think it's worked for you so far, and I don't see a reason not to continue that.
Yeah, shooting on a different goaltender does make it a little bit more difficult. It's like a Pokemon battle. Listen, you got a fire Pokemon. You don't want to be throwing your leaf guy out there. You want to get that water guy in there. You want the weakness, right? So they got different weaknesses, these two. And I'm sure that, you know, whoever's doing the scouting for the Wranglers is aware of that. That, yeah, I think Martin's a better goalie at stopping shots from afar. I don't think he's as athletic as Seelovs. I think Seelovs does let in a stinker here and there, right? Like, that'll happen. A shot will beat him from the point, but he's going to be more athletic when the puck's around the crease. And hey, look at the way that the Calgary Wranglers are attacking. How many scrambles around the crease did we see last night, right? And those are the scoring chances that they're getting. And I'm not saying, like, they're not getting a ton of scoring chances either. Like, think about last night. Like, there wasn't, like, I guess even, like, the shots that we saw from the Wranglers, a lot of things from the rush on the outside, had, like, Matthew Phillips a couple times. But, hey, Martin last night was big. We saw a couple different breakaways early in that game. We saw Matthew Phillips had one. I can't remember the other Wranglers play, but there was a couple of breakaways. Martin was good. He stopped them, right? So that was a big thing for them. So that's what I'm wondering. Maybe they end up going back to him because they did like some of the things that Martin did last night. But at the same, like, I've been wrong this whole series or this whole playoff run. So I'm going to guess that it's going to be Seelovs as well. I'm kind of in the same boat with you there. But we'll have to see what happens. Nobody is going to know, right? I think that maybe helps Abbotsford. And that's why I wonder if it's almost like some sort of a chess move, right? Like, Calgary is probably expecting Archer Seelovs on Friday. So is it a big brain 5D chess sort of thing where, hey, let's give him back Martin? They've been preparing for Seelovs this whole time. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens moving forward here. But I want to bring up one more thing. John Stevens left the game very early in the first period, one of his second or third shifts. And he ends up going head over heels over a player. It's sort of like a weird play at the blue line where the player was down. Stevens was in a full speed, went over him. Did not look happy. I saw him going down the tunnel immediately when he got off the ice. Looked like a groin type of thing, and I believe that was the injury that was hurting him earlier in the season. I'll unmute Cody if he can correct me here just for 5 minutes, but then I'm putting him back on mute. But Stevens playing 3C for the team. Atu Ratu has played some 3C for the team. Nobody knows where Atu Ratu is. I don't know where he is. He wasn't there on Monday at practice. When I asked Carlton about it, he said he might be battling a little something, but they have to put out their best lineup. So nobody knows where Atu Ratu is. So we have to figure that out. Is he going to be the guy that replaces John Stevens in that 3C spot? Because that's going to be important. It's going to be really important. Chase Waters is an option. But if you need another center, the option right now, the best one, it's probably Tristan Nielsen. And do you want to take him off of your top line? Because he's playing the wing right now on the top line. You don't really want to mess with that too much, right? So it's going to be very curious to see what happens. They kind of need Atu Ratu at this point. They kind of need him to get back in the lineup. And hey, Canucks fans will like that. They want to see the top prospect playing. We didn't see that last year in the AHL playoffs. And Ratu scores in that game. So it feels like an injury. Like that's what it feels like, right? It doesn't feel like it's a healthy scratch situation, but I don't know for sure. I'm just going off of what I've seen. I didn't see him at practice on Monday, like I mentioned. He scored the game-tying goal in game 2. He felt like he had a pretty decent game. I thought he was quiet throughout the playoffs, but at least, getting that goal at a very important time. I don't know who's going to be in on Friday, right? Like, I don't know who's going to be in, but I did want to bring up, I'd mentioned Nielsen there. I tell you, like, Quads, how good was Tristan Nielsen and Arshdeep Bains late in this game, right? Like, they were two players that I kept mentioning, hey, look how many shifts these guys, every time they were rotating the final 10 minutes of the game, it was either Nielsen or Bains was on the ice. Like, Carlton really trusts these two.
And I was about to ask you who you thought the best player for Abbotsford was last night, because for me, it's without a question, it was Arshdeep Bains. Like, the two-way play, and you've been giving the take that this guy's going to play NHL games. Last night was the first night I can confidently say, yeah, if he can bring that to an NHL lineup, he's going to play games. Like, he's going to play in a role that Phil DiGiuseppe played, where you can put him on the fourth line. He can kill penalties for you, but he also has some offense to his game as well, right? And that's a thing that I feel like is one of not forgotten stories, because we've definitely talked about it on this show, but one thing that I don't think gets talked about enough is how this guy led the WHL in scoring last year, right? Like he was phenomenal with the Red Deer Rebels. You can come out of junior and be a guy who says, well, I led in scoring, so I'm just going to, kind of replicate that here and I'll be okay. He's really become a complete player. Like, he's become a player that I don't think many people thought would be in the running to play NHL games, but here we are, right? Like, he looks like a very, very complete player. He's out there shutting down the opposition when it matters late. He's scoring goals. He's setting up plays. I wrote down here the Hoglander goal. It was set up by Bains, and it was a really nice play from Bains at the line to really jumpstart the play. And same can be said about Tristan Nielsen, right? Like, their play through the neutral zone, I think, really was something that I noticed a lot last night. It was just how good these guys are at either disrupting the opposition or getting the puck up quickly through the neutral zone. And that's one thing that this Abbotsford team struggled with in this series against Calgary, that they did so well against Bakersfield, right? Like, look, I was talking to you about it, and, Harmon came out to a game with you I don't know how long ago it was, but he said, wow, AHL hockey sucks. Like, there's a lot of broken plays. We weren't seeing that with Abbotsford, especially against Bakersfield. We were seeing them really cleanly break the puck out of their end, get it up quickly, get it into the opposition's end with control, not just a dump and chase, with control a lot of the times. And they kind of got away from that against Calgary. Now, I know Calgary's a better team, and that can be attributed largely to that. But last night, especially Nielsen and Bains, their play through the neutral zone, both ways, was phenomenal. And to me, Arshdeep Bains was Abbotsford's best forward, best player last night.
Yeah, get ready to clip this, Emil, because how long have we been saying it on this show? That Arshdeep Bains looks like an NHL player, and something that we saw last night that I absolutely loved, you mentioned it, the playmaking's there, the offense is there. That's what he did that at the WHL, right? Like, it wasn't just goals he was scoring. This is a really smart passer. That is something in his game that translates to the NHL. You can say that, like, like Danila Klimovich, you get excited about the offense. Do we know that's really going to translate to the NHL? I'm not so sure just yet. There's still time to tell on that. Arshdeep Bains has the type of offense that is going to translate to the NHL because it's a high hockey IQ. He's thinking the game faster than these guys in the AHL are. And last night, you watch the final few seconds of that game, and the Abbotsford Canucks are kind of just holding the puck in the corner, like getting the last few seconds off the clock. A couple of huge slashes on Noah Juleson. And Arshdeep Bains showed something that I haven't seen from him all year. Real strong physicality, sticking up for his guys. Big cross checks in the corner, almost drops the gloves. I think he took a roughing penalty actually at the end of the game, so that's going to be reviewed by the AHL. Nothing's going to come of that. But Arshdeep Bains, he showed me something last night, the physicality, stepping up for teammates, more than I've seen the rest of the season, and that's exactly what you want in the playoffs. So I'm on the train, man. Arshdeep Bains is going to be an NHLer. He's proven that every night at the AHL level, and you're seeing it, man. All the minutes he's getting. I got to get a stopwatch out when he's playing in these AHL games because I wish they had that publicly available somehow to see ice time. Bains is, man, yeah, he's going to be an NHLer. I don't have much of a doubt about it, to be 100% honest. Like, I've floated it throughout the year, but I don't have much doubt at all. He is going to play in the NHL. I think he plays in the NHL next year. He's done that enough. He's trusted that much by the coaching staff. And you mentioned it. He can provide some offense as well as what he does defensively. Probably the best penalty killer in Abbotsford this year, too. What else could you want? Like, this kid has everything you want in a player that's that age and hoping to make a jump into the NHL in the coming years. He's going to do it. He is going to do it. Arshdeep Bains will be a Vancouver Canucks soon.
I like it. All right, Emil, you heard him. Clip that. Make sure you clip that. That's a good clip there. Intern Emil in the background there. But yeah, it's so hard to disagree with that, Chris, because like I said this already, but last night was the night where I really, really noticed it, where I said, okay, when it comes to things you need to do at the NHL level to find success, Arshdeep Bains just did it all last night. Like he quite honestly did it all. That's the easiest way to say it. It's just he was all over the ice and he was doing everything it takes to win. And that was something that was really nice to see, to be honest with you. And I think it, like you said, he's gonna play NHL games. Okay, anything more on Abbotsford that you want to get to before we move on here?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to the how to win thing because I mentioned on the drive up, I gave you one for every hour that we were driving. Actually, I gave you 3 things that the Abbotsford Canucks needed to do to win this series. It was going to take 3. Hold on a second. You yawned off the top of the show. What's going on over there? You're yawning away over here on the show.
Well, I got home so late from Abbotsford. You had me up late. So, a little tired today.
I left your house. I still had 35 minutes to get home. There's still traffic somehow at 11:45 last night. All right. How to win. I brought it up on the drive up. I said there's 3 things. If they do these in each game, or not even each game, just separate games, they'll win. So what was the first one I said? Linus Karlsson to get some power play goals, Christian Wolanin to get some offense. They did that last night. They got their win. 2 games left. You need 2 wins to win this series. The other 2 things I brought up, Niels Höglander needs to have a dominant game. If he has a dominant game like he did in really both games like Bakersfield, they'll win. They'll win that game. He's that good in the AHL where he can win you a game single-handedly. You're going to need something like that. I think that could be something in game 4 or game 5. Like Niels Höglander can go at you and win this series. The other thing is Marty or Artie needs to steal a game, right? The goaltender for the Abbotsford Canucks, they've had games where they've stolen it. They've won, we've seen performances with Spencer Martin this year where he's, stopped 40 of 41 and been so effective. And same thing with Artur Silovs. We've seen shutouts all throughout the season from him. If you can get one of those in each of those final 2 games here, one night where Höglander stands out and really dominates, one night where your goaltender steps up, they can win this series. They can really win this series. Like they can. It's the best team in the AHL, but they play them well. And if they can get those things, they'll win this series. If they can get one game where a player like Niels Höglander or even potentially like a Karlsson or even a Rao or Dowling, one of these guys steps up and just plays incredible, plays the game of the season for them, they'll win that game. And then the same thing, if the goalie can steal you one, like they do have a chance in this series, a legitimate chance to take this thing home. I just think it's going to take a heroic effort, to be honest. Like you can call it that. It's going to take a heroic effort from one of these top players on their team in these final 2 games, because it's not like the Wranglers, aside from their goaltender, they don't have a player that really sticks out as like he is the best player on the ice for sure. Like Matthew Phillips is good, but we saw it last night. How many times did the Abbotsford Canucks just get a body on him? I mean, Matthew Phillips, I know they don't count ice time, but he spent 4.5 minutes on his ass that game because he was getting knocked over every 2 seconds. Like, that's what they were doing to this player. You don't do that to Niels Höglander. It doesn't happen to him. He's too strong on the puck. He's too strong on the boards. He's not on his ass all game long like Phillips was last night. I mean, you can see this team has a chance to really do this and pull off this reverse sweep. It would be incredible. And tell you what, you reverse sweep the champions, like, the champions of the regular season, that is, you're going on a run in this playoffs. So it's very possible. I think the crowd's going to make a big difference on Friday. And then I don't think the crowd has to make a difference for Sunday, because that team's going to be locked in if you get to game 5. So those are my things. Anything else that you think might be able to get the Abbotsford Canucks over the hump here and get a win? Because I'm saying Huglander and the goalies, they can win game 4 and 5 for you that way.
Yeah, I would also argue that the 4 things that I mentioned before, well, 3, let's not count the crowd in it, let's just talk about the on-ice play. I would argue that those 3 still matter a lot. Like, you can't get into penalty trouble. You need your special teams to be good, and I know it sounds obvious, but folks, they just weren't doing it. They weren't doing it in this series, and that just needs to continue. Like, yeah, everybody was talking about, oh, we were right there. Yeah, well, you also didn't capitalize on your chances, right? And look, I'm not knocking any of the players or the coach or whoever was the ones that were saying that. You didn't get it done. And ultimately it came down to the little things and the little mistakes that you made. Not capitalizing your power play chances, being undisciplined. Like, that can't happen. You can't revert back to what cost you ultimately games 1 and 2, because yeah, you were right there and you went to overtime, but you didn't do the little things and it cost you. And hey, little things, Louis, let's not forget that those things do really matter and they do impact games. So yeah, a big game from a goaltender is great, but also don't force your goaltender to have a big game, right? Like, that's something that I'm going to be watching closely, is do they revert to these old habits? Or I don't even call them habits, these things that cost them games 1 and 2.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think it'll be interesting, because I think there'll also be a couple of lineup changes too, right? We talked about John Stevens. Just the way that he went down the tunnel, I don't know what's going to happen with him. If, like, when you throw your glove down the tunnel like that, have that much anger, it's probably like a feeling of like, damn, it's that thing that I hurt during the season again. So we'll have to see what happens there. But a forward might come in the lineup. I don't know. Maybe Vinny Arsenault is healthy enough. That would be huge for this team physically to get him into the lineup and really push around that McLean guy off of Calgary, who's all up in Rathbone's business last night. So that could be interesting. Defense, I think they're going to take. You mentioned little things, Louis, a teammate of his this year in the SHL, Philip Johansson. I think he's coming out of the lineup, after last night. Like, he did not get a lot of shifts in the second period, did not get a lot of shifts in the third period. I just don't think that there was one point I watched him and he's standing around the crease, didn't know where to go, and then you get a shot from the slot against him, and you could clearly see it. Like, he's taking a couple steps this way. Oh no, maybe I'm supposed to go this way. This is a real structure thing with this Abbotsford Canucks team. It's why they don't give up so many scoring chances compared to AHL teams. And it's too difficult for Johansson to really pick it up this fast. So I'm expecting to see. I don't know what's going on with Brady Keeper. I saw him on the ice on Monday, so he's practicing. So I don't know why he's not going in. I think he might go in on Friday, him or Canuck Liepert. They like him for the physicality, and I think he's played pretty good defensively as well. I expect that to be a change. And then the forward group, you're going to need someone else, because I don't know what John Stevens' status is moving forward here, whether that's Ratu if he's available, or, hey, maybe the big Vinny. He's coming in. That would be great for the series. I mean, this series has already been electric. You wait till Vinny drops the gloves at center ice against a Wrangler with the whole crowd watching him, towels going nuts. That would be an incredible moment. And they love him out there. How many jerseys did you see number 18 in the Abbotsford Centre? They love Vinny out there.
That's right. We saw him in the parking lot too. Kyle Burrows, we should mention this. Yeah. Kyle Burrows getting out to the Abbotsford Centre last night. Won't have a contract with the Canucks at this time, scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent, still going out and supporting the boys. We saw him in the parking lot, and it was nice to see Kyle Burrows out there for sure.
Yeah, how cool is that? He doesn't have a contract for next year. He's just a Vancouver hockey guy. He's just out there watching the game, doesn't even have a contract with the Canucks next year. He's out there supporting the team. So that was great to see. All right, let's get into the Lekkerimäki stuff here. Okay? We'll dive into this. So latest reports, and I think this is going to happen over the next few days here. I think that Jonathan Lekkerimäki is going to sign with the Vancouver Canucks, sign his entry-level contract, which will, because he's getting loaned to the SHL, I believe it's going to slide into next season. So I expect this to come down in the next few days because I think they want to figure out, the SHL teams are wanting to know, like, hey, we want to take a run at this guy. There's a couple teams that are interested in Jonathan Lekkerimäki, who just had a great playoffs here. You can see the stats on the screen right now, 15 points in 15 games. SHL teams want him. I've heard that Farjestad, who's the team that I mentioned last episode on the show, or even last week, I think, it'd be great to see him play with Lucas Forsell, a fellow Canucks prospect. Farjestad is one of the teams that's in the mix right now for him, but I've heard that Leksands is the front runner to get Lekkerimäki involved with their team. All those guys, those young players, they got Liam Ogren and Odelius maybe staying with Djurgården, but all those young draft picks from Djurgården, they're actually kind of they're all getting loans right now to the SHL. So it might start with a contract for an ELC with Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised to see it tomorrow, if I'm being honest. So come back to this video if that happens tomorrow. But see him sign his ELC with the Canucks, get loaned to the SHL. The ELC won't start. He'll get loaned, but it'll still give you the option to get him over here in the AHL playoffs next year, or the AHL run once his season's over in the SHL next year. So it'll be interesting to see. Another one would be Orebro. That would be interesting. Like, I haven't heard anything about Orebro involved. I've only heard the two teams, but just like it'd be cool to see him with another Canucks prospect, right? And Orebro would be great because I know these two have, with Elias Pettersson, the defenseman, being with Orebro, they've got a good relationship. They were drafted in the same draft, a couple of rounds apart. I saw them traveling from Montreal to Vancouver. I was on the same flight as them. They were together like throughout it, so that's good. And I think they have a good relationship, those two. So that's an option as well. Leksands, like I said, is the front runner. It sounds like they're very interested in getting Lekkerimäki in their lineup. And I think it's going to come down to one of these SHL teams kind of not necessarily promising, but like really telling them like, yeah, you're going to get top 6 opportunity here. Like, you're a skilled player. We're going to put you in this position to succeed. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. Lekkerimäki signed his rookie contract, which is like a weird, it's an SHL sort of thing, or Sweden hockey sort of thing. He had a rookie contract last year. There was a 1-year deal. So he doesn't, like, he could just sign with an SHL team. This is the other possibility. I don't think this is the likely scenario, but he could just sign with an SHL team, no ELC with the Vancouver Canucks. But I don't think that's how it's going to go. I think they're going to get him under contract and then get him loaned. Just a little bit more control when you send a guy off to an SHL if you have him under contract and you're loaning him that way instead of him just signing a direct contract with an SHL team. So hopefully that explains the situation a little bit. But everything we're hearing, Lekkerimäki is going to be in the SHL next year, whether it be Leksands, Farjestad, Orebro. Heck, I don't know. Maybe it's Modo. Maybe they liked what they saw in the Allsvenskan finals because they just got promoted to the SHL. We'll see him. We'll see him in the SHL next year. That's what it's really feeling like. As much as people want to see him in Abbotsford or heck playing the CHL, ripping it up, I don't think that's happening. I think he's going to be in the SHL next year, and there's some good options for him. And hopefully he gets that top 6 minutes that he's going to need for his development.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we're going to be following closely. You can follow along, obviously, at CanucksArmy.com for all of the latest. Okay, Chris, odds and ends. Let's go. I have one for you right away. Norris Trophy finalists. Norris Trophy finalists are going to be announced today. Do you expect to see Quinn Hughes as part of those 3 names?
No, I don't.
Okay. Who do you think?
Well, Carlson.
I'll give you mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm thinking you're going to see Erik Karlsson, who's ultimately going to win the award. You're going to see Adam Fox. And from there, maybe Hampus Lindholm. I know he was on my ballot. Like, from there, I don't think there's a clear number 3. So this is why I think that you might see Quinn Hughes. I don't think it's super likely. I think ultimately, when everything's said and done, I think Quinn Hughes is going to finish 4th overall in voting. So he'll just miss the mark, like just miss it. I think that's what's going to happen personally, is when the full votes come out. Because right now we're only going to see the 3 finalists, whoever picked up the most votes, the top 3. I think we're going to see Quinn Hughes in that 4th spot. I think that's where he's going to ultimately fall. Dougie Hamilton's another name as well. Now, I'm sure people can kind of tell who I put on my ballot. Cale Makar, I don't know if he played enough games to pick up enough top 3 votes, but he's also Cale Makar. So maybe he does pick up those votes. I'm very, very curious to see, Chris, who it is that comes out in that top 3. Hampus Lindholm had a really good year in Boston, really solid 2-way presence, but I don't know if he's going to be in the top 3. Like, he was in my top 3, but I'll tell you personally, Quinn Hughes was higher on my ballot. I had Quinn Hughes higher. At 2nd, I had Quinn Hughes 2nd on my ballot. So I'm curious to see where Quinn Hughes ultimately lands if he's announced as part of these finalists.
Yeah, you know what? He's in my top 3 if I was picking. But what I'm saying is I don't expect him to be one of the top 3 from the PHWA selection. Because you look at listen, what's the first thing you do when you wonder who's going to win the Norris? You jump on the stats. You see who's put up the most points, and that's what's going to happen. I don't care if you really want to take Hampus Lindholm into the equation. Some people probably put him in their top 5 for the votes, but you're simply going to look at the stats. A lot of the writers are. A lot of the people voting on this are going to just do that. And hey, when you look at it, Quinn Hughes is the only defenseman in the top 16 for points without 10 goals. And I think that's going to hurt him. I think that's going to hurt him when you're looking at people around the league. Do we see him on a night-to-night basis and he's exhilarating to watch? Yeah. And I think he is one of the top 3 defensemen who should be in the mix for this, for the Norris Trophy. But I don't know if he's going to get enough votes. I think the assists are great. Listen, finished with 69. It was a nice year for him, but he couldn't find the back of the net more than 7 times. And I think until he gets 10, I don't know if he's going to be in the mix, if he's going to be one of the finalists for the Norris until he gets 10 goals. Like, it just feels like that needs to be, I just feel like that's like I don't agree with it, but I feel like it's the thing around you're going to need to get 10 goals from the back end to be in the mix for the Norris, I feel like.
And also worth mentioning, obviously, Brandon Montour had a really solid year. He's in the top 5 scoring. Josh Morrissey is the only defenseman not named Erik Karlsson who also had at least 76 points on the year, and that's what Quinn Hughes finished with. So he's tied for second in scoring, and he got harder matchups than Morrissey. He plays, exceptionally well at both ends of the ice. I didn't have Morrissey on my ballot at all. I don't know what the other writers are going to have on their ballots, but I didn't have Morrissey on my ballot at all, to be honest with you.
Wow. That's interesting. I'm a little surprised with that, actually.
I dug very deep into different analytics and stuff to inform my decision. And I had, like I said, I had Hampus Lindholm number 3. He's not in the top 10 for scoring. I didn't just do it by scoring. I think that's silly. I think you need to do all around defense. And the way I do it is I kind of assign a different weight to how well you did something. Like on the offensive side, do you kill penalties? Do you face the toughest matchups of any defenseman on your team? All that sort of stuff. I look at a lot of different stuff when I was making this decision. And then that's ultimately why I landed on Erik Karlsson as my number 1, was because he just put up 101 points. And that's just, look, it's unheard of, right? And I think when you have that much of a gap in the offensive side, even if your defensive game isn't the best, which we've already talked about, Karlsson's isn't, even if your defensive game isn't the best, I think when the gap's that wide, you deserve to win it. You deserve to be number 1. That's why he was number 1 on my ballot.
Here's what'll piss me off when we see the finalists come out. This will piss me off. If Dougie Hamilton is in the top 3 and Quinn Hughes isn't, that'll piss me off. And that'll just be about, the reason it'll piss me off is because they just went to the stats and saw who scored, and they're like, oh, Dougie Hamilton had 22 goals. And then probably didn't even scroll over to the right and see that he only played 21 minutes a night. Like, Tyler Myers is playing more goddamn minutes than this guy. That's what's going to piss me off. You see Dougie Hamilton in the top 3, that'll piss me off if he's one of the finalists there. All right, let's wrap it up on this. Great, big story coming out of Russia. You got this last graphic here, Alex? Last one? Maybe? Get up. Canucks need, they're looking for young guys.
Oh my God.
Nikolai Goldobin, this report coming out of Pavel, Pasher Hockey RU on Twitter. Nikolai Goldobin rejected his KHL offer earlier this week, and he will not be signing a contract extension with the team. He is looking to sign a contract in North America. If I'm an NHL team, I definitely have interest in him. So I got the Nikolai Goldobin rookie cards out again. Free Goldie, bring him back. Hey, here's the thing. Maybe he'll play in the AHL now. He's not across the continent. Down the road, he'll play in Abbotsford. This is an excellent AHL player. Still, you look at every single line mate Elias Pettersson's ever had. Nobody has a better control of the goal share than Elias Pettersson and Nikolai Goldobin. Free Goldie.
I'm imagining Rick Tocchet calling his good friend Travis Green and saying, hey, Travis, we just signed this kid out of Russia. I know you coached him. Nikolai Goldobin. What can you tell me about him? And I would pay good money to listen to that call.
Sure. But look at all the Russians they got already now. There was no Russians before. Okay? Goldobin's looking around. He's got his agent.
Help Goldobin?
Yeah, his agent's looking around the league, and he's thinking, what makes sense? Hey, look at this. They got Mikheyev, Podkolzin, Kravtsov coming back. All these Russians. Goldie likes playing with Russians. He likes playing with the Europeans. Yeah, you know what? Now that I say it out loud, he ain't coming to Vancouver. Tocchet's not going to approve that. But free Goldie, I hope he...
What are you talking about?
Hey, infectious smell. I'll tell you what. Imagine this. So we need you get the translators, right? Kuzmenko and Goldobin out there together. Come on. Everybody would be smiling if you're going to a media, if you're doing like a little like interview situation. You wouldn't be able to find more smiles anywhere else in the world. They'd all be looking at those two. They're good, infectious smiles, Kuzmenko and Goldobin. It'd be a lot of fun to get him back, but I like him for Abbotsford more than I do Vancouver.
Okay, final odds and end. Odd and end, I suppose. I could not have been more wrong about New Jersey and Carolina being one of the more entertaining series. Carolina
Ugh.
is just playing this shutdown hockey that we expected to some extent. I thought New Jersey would be able to penetrate a little bit better. One shot in the first period last night for the New Jersey Devils against the Carolina Hurricanes. That series is not going to be the most fun one. As I now foolishly said in our second round predictions on Tuesday's show. So it'll be interesting to see how these series kind of progress. Some of us are off to better starts than others. Your idea of a New Jersey sweep over Carolina is already dead. Alex and I still going strong on all of our predictions, and that's why you choose 6 or 7 games, folks. You play it safe.
Not me. Kyle says Goldie can join the Russians as the 5th Infinity Stone. I've actually seen that movie, so I get that reference. And by the way, Jesse, I see Jesse in chat, who we met last night. We met Jesse and Chad and Brandon, all of them out there. Great to chat with them at the intermission. I saw where Jesse was sitting because he sent me the ticket that he was at. Jesse almost broke the glass. Did you see at the end of the game, Quads, the Abbotsford fans? That was Jesse's section. They were almost busting through that glass. I also saw Jesse was giving it to Dustin Wolf and the McLean guy. I saw a couple of birds coming up there from Jesse at one point to giving that to McLean. So shout out to Jesse. We met him at the first intermission there, who's always in the chat here, and we appreciate that. But I tell you what, those boards go easy next time, Jesse. You guys had that whole section banging on that thing. I thought that it was going to go down. It looked like, they were doing the wave in the crowd. The boards are doing the wave because they were smashing on it so hard at the Abbotsford Centre.
Yeah, it was good. The whole boards were just like the glass was just waving, and it was very, very funny. Obviously, the players at the other end of the ice.
Yeah, let me bring this up because it's funny. I told you this when we got up there. Like I'm in the concourse a lot. I get recognized here and there in the Abbotsford concourse because everyone I cover the Abbotsford Canucks. It's fun, so it's nice to meet the people out there. But you and I, when we're together, we get recognized a lot more for some reason, which is like weird. I stick out like a sore thumb. I should, you think you just recognize me, but when we're both together, we had people running up and taking selfies. It was a blast out there in Abbotsford for sure. So that was great. And by the way, Chad, if you and your kids are listening to this, I hope you guys enjoy the Zephyr Epic cards. Good stuff. And I even gave Chad a Mark Messier card too, just for his collection. So we'll see if he likes that one or not. All right, I'm done. No more odds, no more ends for me.
Likewise. We'll be back. When are we going to be back? Monday, the draft lottery show. Right? That's the next time we'll be back. Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit here. So the time changed on it, right? Did you see this yesterday? They changed the time. It's now it's 5 o'clock Pacific. Do I got that right? I think they changed it. It was going to be 4. Yes, they changed it to 5. We'll be back. We got to get some social posts here. There you go. Emil, you want to do a fantastic job, Emil? Get us some posts up there on the page. We got a draft lottery coming up on Monday. So we want that. We're going to be live show here. I think we're going to work on getting we're going to talk a lot of prospects about the draft. And I saw some questions earlier in the chat. Sorry we didn't get to them. We'll get to them. We have lots of time in the off season to talk about draft prospects. I've been watching this. What do I got here? This Tom Willander kid. I tell you, he's looking good. He's got a 54% Corsi in his J20 and 55% control of the expected goals. I've been tracking him, this Tom Willander kid, and keep an eye on him here a little bit. Right shot defenseman, maybe a later pick in the draft, but we'll see. We'll talk about that, and they'll change. The time change there for the draft lottery. We'll be live. We're live here for the draft lottery. When it's going down, come hang out with us here in the chat, and it'll be a lot of fun for us. Yeah, let's run it. You're live there, Alex. Let's see. Montreal, Arizona going first. St. Louis going first. Columbus going first. Washington going first. There it is. Vancouver number 2. I'll take that. Vancouver at number 2 we'll take. Still haven't seen. Alex is running through this thing, fast as hell here. Nothing. Nope. Vancouver's not going to get. Well, yeah, okay. We'll save it for another day, Alex. Come on. Now it's this. When Alex does it, it's depressing. Has Alex ever hit Vancouver at number 1? No chance.
No, he has not. He has not hit Vancouver at number 1 at any point.
Oh,
Alex, keep doing it.
Oh, God. No, Alex has got the Gary Bettman version where the Canucks can't move up. That's what he's got over there.
Alex, keep it going while I close this thing out. We'll see. There will eventually be one, and then when you hit it, just pause it right there. That's what we want to end the show on. I'm seeing Chicago move up a lot. Detroit, and I was having this conversation with you guys the other day. Like, Detroit put themselves in a better position to win the draft lottery than the Canucks did. Like, the Canucks bought from Detroit at the trade deadline, and now Detroit, obviously, with a 5% chance at landing Connor Bedard. And twice now, there we go.
Hey!
There we go. Twice now in Alex's simulators, Detroit won. Vancouver moves up 10 spots in the final one. And with that, we will close it out. We'll see you Monday, folks. Check us out on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Little watch along for the draft lottery. But in the meantime, and in between time, for my co-host Chris Faber and our technical producer Alex Allard, my name is David Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?